presentation is divided in two parts. The first, of course, the tradition, and the second, the developments. BIO is a commercial company with 100% state-owned, belongs to the Ministry of Health in Bulgaria with over 130 years history. It became a separate entity at the end of 2000 based on the production of the production department of the National Center of Infection and Parasitic Diseases in Bulgaria. And the production nomenclature covers more than 600 medicines divided in two main groups, human medicines and in vitro diagnostic medicine products. The bioproducts of BIO are exported in over 140 countries in the world, and the production of drugs meet the good manufacturing practice requirements and was also certified by the Lloyd's Register of ISO 9001. Combating vaccine-preventable diseases is a major concern of the healthcare system in the advanced countries, and the horizontal transmission of infection from person to person is difficult or even becomes impossible by preventing replication of the infectious agent through immunization. The effects of reduction of immunization coverage can be dangerous and even tragic. The immunization is widely recognized as the most successful and cost-effective health interventions ever implemented in public health practice. A major producer in Bulgaria of vaccines is BIO. Nowadays, this production is concentrated in the area of bacterial vaccines that, according to their mechanism of action, protect by the following diseases with mucosal replication pertussis, production of toxins, diphtheria and tetanus, and replication in macrophages tuberculosis. The improved from the World Health Organization vaccines give the ability for its distribution worldwide. Produced are for the domestic and foreign markets, diphtheria and tetanus toxoid alone, and also in combination with wholesale pertussis vaccine. Also, the historically old among the vaccines, the BCG vaccine. In the table is placed information that you can find on the website of the firm. That's why I will skip the table. The immunization with diphtheria, tetadiv, diphtheria can be made simultaneously with other vaccines, and they can be associated also with immune globulins. When there are contraindications to pertussis component, diphtheria and tetanus vaccine are applied by immunization schedule of diphtheria vaccine. For the needs of WHO, UNICEF and PAHO are provided bacterial vaccines via our long-standing business partner, Intervax Canada. Produced is also PPD tuberculin, ready to use for MAN2 intradermal test. The only virus vaccine that is produced in the company is inactivated vaccine against Crimean hemorrhagic fever. It contains inactivated virus as antigen strain and administered prophylactically population in endemic distribution of the causative regions. Two application of the vaccine provides specific immunity and can prevent the disease. Presently, is running a joint project to develop a new recombinant DNA vaccine against Crimean hemorrhagic fever in partnership with Canada and Kazakhstan. Future developments. Apart from improving animal health and productivity, veterinary vaccines have a significant impact on public health through reduction of the use of veterinary pharmaceuticals and hormones and their residues in the human food chain. According to the European Pharmacopoeia, the bacterial strain is permitted to be modified by genetic engineering. That's why the new approach in the design of recombinant vaccines are inactivated vaccines containing host cells. Successfully manipulation of the bacterial genome could provide surface-presented antigens of various pathogens, and treating the development vaccine with a hybrid material containing silver nanoparticles will inactivate the strain, and as a result can be obtained recombinant host cells. To obtain better results and development of protective immunity. The vaccine for veterinary use of recombinant host cells, carriers of the bacterial genomes of different pathogens, could be structured against causes of enteric diseases in the basis of a draft, and is the basis of a draft proposal with potential awaiting development. The choice of the components of a polyvalent vaccine against enteric diseases is the first important step. Traditional production of non-living vaccine by heat treatment, irradiation or chemical treatment to denaturation of significant structural components of the cell wall leads to denaturation, and that's why inactivating with hybrid material can keep the antigenic range and create the complex protective immunity as an innovative new approach. Experimental study on the components of polyvalent ghost salmonella vaccine are provided with a large number of strains. There are a lot of cases of Salmonella gastroenteritis. Approximately 80 deaths are recorded each year in the UK. And a significant number of non-diffusible Salmonella systemic and non-enteric forms are also registered. For a 5-year period in Bulgaria was found increasing of the resistant strains to ampicillin and gentamicin, and also tetracycline, naldexasid, and chloramphenicol. The emergence of multi-drug resistant Salmonella strains raises the question of strengthening the measures related to the prevention and protection at the poultry. About half of the Salmonella outbreaks are due to contaminated poultry and poultry products. The route to this infection is colonization of the hen house and its pets, such as rodents, insects, and wild birds. Salmonella contaminates surface or penetrate through the cracks of light shells. At hens with ovarian infection was established that Salmonella enteritidis can reach the egg by internal vertical transmission. And historically, Salmonella typhimurium is the most commonly reported serotype. In 2001, the 3 most common Salmonella serotypes were Salmonella typhimurium, enteritidis, and Newport. Salmonella Newport is one of them, causing diseases in cattle. Alternative to the available at the market inactivated with formaldehyde Salmonella vaccines could be a vaccine derived from ghost cells, resulting from treatment with this hybrid material. The aim is to achieve polyvalent ghost Salmonella vaccine by inactivation of 2 strains, Salmonella enteritidis, Salmonella Newport Puerto Rico, and Salmonella typhimurium. At first was determined the minimal bactericidal concentration of the 4th strain, and Salmonella Newport Puerto Rico, only this strain was with established higher value of minimal bactericidal concentration, 0.11 milligram per liter. But all of the tested strains were accepted as susceptible to silver because it is established as that values more than 1.1 milligram per liter are sign for silver resistance. The maximal non-toxic concentration is this concentration that altered neither the morphology of monolayer nor the cell survival rate. It was defined as 0.007 milligram per liter, and the concentration required to inhibit 50% of the cell viability was determined as 0.53 milligram per liter in a dose-dependent manner. They were tested on most fibroblast cell lines. Because the used suspension for immunization was 1 billionth of bacterial suspension, it was used silver concentration of 30 milligram per liter suspension. And from working cultures were prepared as antigens immunization ghost salmonella vaccines. They were confirmed culture on cultural method and standardized in densitometer to 3 Macfarland density. Prepared for intravenous immunization on Californian rabbits with increasing antigenic load from 0.5 to 2 milliliter in intervals from 3 to 4 days. The specific titer of all obtained after immunization rabbit antisera was determined in a Grover's reaction stage agglutination. They achieved 1 to 6,400 O titer. It was a little bit lower by the anti-Salmonella enteritidis serum. It was found a significant difference in the activity of the achieved sera from both strains Salmonella enteritidis. That's why it was considered to incorporate both of them in the ghost vaccine. You can see the titer of both of them is different. Them analysis was provided a month after completion of the immunization, and it was found that the presence of polyvinyl alcohol silver nanoparticles for longer period in the antigen complete lysis of the bacterial cells after apoptosis. Therefore, was added a step consisting in washing of the antigen after inactivation with the hybrid material to can stay the bacterial cells in the form of ghost. Experimental research of polyvalent Escherichia coli vaccine was provided at first with the strain Escherichia coli 0104. The outbreak with the serotype H4 in Germany and other countries was one of the largest reported hemolytic uremic syndrome outbreaks in the world. The enteroaggregative verotoxin producing serotype has often been described as an enterohemorrhagic Escherichia coli. Verotoxin producing Escherichia produce attaching and affecting lesions on enterocytes are enterohemorrhagic Escherichia coli. Interesting fact is that the primary sources and vehicles of typical enterohemorrhagic infections in humans are ruminants, whereas no animal reservoir has been identified for enteroaggregative Escherichia coli. The verotoxigenic serogroup 0104 has been reported 3 times as isolate from animals and foods by different members of European Union. Two of the isolation were from cattle, age 12 and age 21. It was isolated from wild boar, age 7, from sheep and young cattle. Also from bovine carcasses and meat. When infecting humans, verotoxigenic Escherichia coli can also be responsible for Hughes syndrome to the production of verotoxin. Serotype 0104H21 was also agent of sporadically outbreaks. The main agent of the two whose cases in German, but was H4 strain. At the image, you can see the presence of the nanoparticles is confirmed by UV spectroscopy with this strong absorption band at 420 nanometers, and the TEM image demonstrate the presence of spherical silver nanoparticles with average diameter of 5 nanometers. The minimal bactericidal concentration of the strain described it also as sensitive to silver. The inactivation was again with 30 milligram per liter silver concentration. Confirmed the inactivation onto cultural method. The therapeutic efficacy was determined as 75.71, which is a very good value. These values can determine the secure intravenous administration of the vaccine suspension. The excess of the hybrid material was removed due washing practically in advance. 2 rabbits were immunized from 1 liter for immunization with ghost Escherichia coli vaccine. This immunized with one of them was immunized with inactivated by the hybrid material antigen, and the other was immunized for compartment with antigen treated with heat. It was established that the ghost bacterial cells form more rapidly titer of specific antibodies than these by the rabbit immunized with trait Hetman antigen. Actually, the TEM image demonstrates it prepared at this kind ghost antigen demonstrates the changes in the cell structure and received this manner ghost cells. You can see there the image. Infection per os of the immunized rabbits was provided with 1 milliliter of abilene suspension. The rabbits showed a mild discomfort during the next day and transient loss of appetite, but after that they recovered without clinical signs. Enterotoxigenic Escherichia coli produce 1 or more fimbrial adhesin, and because of their attachment to specific receptors on mucosal epithelial cells, they produced also enterotoxins and lead to neonatal diarrhea and post-weaning diarrhea in farm animals. For protection against enterotoxigenic diarrhea are commonly used commercially available vaccines, which can contain whole cells, purified fimbrial soup units, or had labile enterotoxin. Fimbrial adhesins of neonatal enterotoxigenic Escherichia coli are F4, F5, F6, and F41. The most responsible for diarrhea in young pigs are for F4 strains. Some F18 strains also produce Shiga-like toxin and can cause edema disease. Verotoxigenic Escherichia coli on animals and food were monitored and reported. The primary isolated was O157H7 on the skin of young cattle and sheep's fleeces. And in this experiment was immunized 2 rabbits, one of them with ghost Escherichia coli vaccine and the other treated with formalin antigen. They were added in quantities, the hybrid material and the formalin were added in quantities equal in both cases. The suspensions are washed aseptic twice and after centrifugation standardized to 3 McFarland, which is 1 billion cells per milliliter. TEMI-MESH can demonstrate the presence of ghost cells in the first antigen and the strong tining of the cell shell when they were treated with formaldehyde. To establish the influence of the processing of the antigen, before each subsequent immunization have been blood samples taken and the titer was determined in stage agglutination. In conclusion, I can say the studies show that both strains, Salmonella enteritidis, Newport, Puerto Rico, and Salmonella typhimurium are appropriate to be chosen as candidates for their incorporation in order to create ghost vaccines for veterinary use. Ghost Escherichia coli O104 creates protective immunity. The therapeutic efficacy was established as very good, which allows the intravenous use of the hybrid material without expecting pathological changes in cells. And it was proven advantage when using antigen inactivated by the hybrid material from silver nanoparticles stabilized in polyvinyl alcohol to such treated by classical methodology, in the first case by heat inactivation and in the second by formaldehyde. And this is expressed in faster development of specific titer. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.